Alrighty, welcome to the November 2019 horoscope set for Washington, D.C. on November 1st, 2019. This is oriented to the United States because I am living here stateside, so bear with me, folks. Okay, so for those of you living in the United States, welcome to an impeachment. It finally arrived. So we are, as we have been for the last 4 years, living in a remarkable time in history, seeing all sorts of things that are unprecedented and unheard of. And while impeachment is certainly not unprecedented and unheard of, the fallout after the impeachment and the possibility of one of our presidents actually going to prison for other crimes, also possibly connected to the impeachment, is pretty big. So this is interesting. And, of course, the announcement of the House vote unanimously deciding to move forward with impeachment in investigation or whatever it is that they're doing. I'm learning as I go along too, just like a whole lot of other folks, occurred on the Mercury station. This Mischief Night, the 30th, and Halloween on the 31st, we knew were going to be significant days. Weren't completely sure how that was going to pan out. Now, my feeling looking at it was the people who were up to bad things were more likely to get away with it, which plays out in a couple of ways. Obviously, if you're getting away with it, nobody's catching you, which means that we're not necessarily hearing about it. The other is that the impeachment was pushed through, so there's, that would be a bad thing, I suppose, or a good thing, depending on how you look at it. But with the politics in the U.S., all I can say is that this is not an isolated thing. This is something that is built upon many layers in the foundation to arrive here. And we haven't even hit the climax yet. So I wouldn't look for November to be like the bombshell month, because we're seeing this coming. We knew this was going to happen. But there is some portent to the month. So this month for the horoscope, now we've gotten that aside, this month for the horoscope, it's literally all about us, home, hearth, and daily life for the average common man. So let's look at what's going on with November for the rest of us. Okay, so the month is going to start out with Mercury retrograde. Woohoo! And Mercury is retrograde on top of Venus. So this presents some interesting challenges. Mercury is in the last degrees of Scorpio, and it is moving back or retreating from the end of the sign. So there's almost this 11th hour, last ditch, last resort sort of effort to save situations that are occurring right now. And this is significant for some people more than others. So if you personally are finding yourself in a situation where you're making, like Pocahontas's cry to her father and plead not to kill John Smith and show some mercy, this is a very important time. And with it near Venus like that, there is a greater chance that a solution to avoiding bigger problems later is definitely there and within reach. And I say this because Venus, as we start the month, is also at the 29th degree of Scorpio, which typically represents Venus. Any planet at the 29th degree always represents the end of a situation or the coming of a conclusion, and also symbolizes people who are at the proverbial end of their rope. Now, with Venus at 29 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, which is the sign of endings. It is the 8th house. The 8th house is the house of endings and transformation. Keep that word in mind. Transformation is very important. This also suggests to us that there are major events that are happening behind the scenes. Remember, Scorpio is not out in your face. Scorpio is behind the curtains. There's a lot of very important things happening behind the scenes that represent the conclusion of matters, as well as the major ending of cycles as we begin a transformation. So this is not like a chapter ending in your life and now you've got to rebuild from something else and make things happen that you weren't expecting. This is a transformation. So this is an evolutionary process that we are experiencing right now, as opposed to a circumstantial or mechanical one. So the difference I suppose the best way to describe it is the difference between losing your job and having to start all over again, right? Which is definitely an ending and a major life transition, versus going through puberty, where you go through puberty and you have to let go of childhood and transform into a full adult body, and take on adult responsibilities. The difference is adolescence represents a time of necessary evolution. So there's a much bigger picture involved here. And we have to go through these experiences because where we're headed requires much more of us than we can participate with in our current state, as opposed to a mechanical or circumstantial ending of circumstances where we're literally just, picking up all the broken pieces in the blocks and putting it in a box here and moving to a new box and pulling everything out and starting again with different tools and toys. So this is the theme and the energy as we start the month of November. Transformation, literally the last steps in a major transformation in our lives is afoot right now. So if you're not feeling it, don't panic. This may not be something for you, but if you are feeling that whispering echo in the back of your mind, right, that little haunting voice in your ear that says things are about to change and get real, right? It's not your imagination. This is how we're starting the month. Now, the good news, this is not frightening, I want you to understand. The good news is once we leave the sign of Scorpio, both Mercury, which will catch up next month, but for right now, when Venus leaves the sign of Scorpio and the Sun leaves the sign of Scorpio, as we move out of the sign of Scorpio, we're not ending these major evolutionary chapters and ending up in this horrible abyss of nothingness and darkness. We're moving into the sign of Sagittarius, which is about light and air and freedom and liberation and expanding our horizons and literally participating in discovering that there's a much bigger, brighter, more colorful world out there full of things we don't know yet, and the excitement of being able to go and discover things that we haven't seen before. That's what we're heading into when we get out of these Scorpio energies into Sagittarius. So as we move through the month, understand that this is kind of the delicate balance, the tightrope that we're walking as we go through this. So here, for those who are unfamiliar, this is Mercury, okay? It is retrograde. Here's this. It is retrograde in those last degrees of Scorpio. Now, Mercury will go all the way back to 12 degrees Scorpio before it turns direct. When it turns direct, it will be around, where's my notes? Here we go. It will occur on November 21st. Now, when this happens, there are other planetary transits and configurations that are occurring simultaneously, making this particular Mercury station very significant, or at least dramatically noticeable. So keep an eye on that date, November 21st, 2019. So for the entire month, the first half of the month, Mercury will be going backwards and retreating from these last degrees of Scorpio. And it will stop at 12 degrees and turn back around again. As this is happening, the first few days of November, Venus, because it's already there within minutes of changing signs, will move into Sagittarius. When Venus moves into Sagittarius, it's going to bring with it a couple of things are going to happen. The first thing that's going to happen, it's going to bring with it a lot of light and optimism and goodwill and ethics. Oh my God, the return of ethics and principles and all the things that we need to have a more confident approach to the future, right? The honor system, all the good things that we were taught we were supposed to live by as we were growing up. We're going to start seeing more of that, both in ourselves and a desire to take the higher road, to play by the rules, to do the right thing. Ethics, principles, integrity, character, all those things we're going to find in ourselves a desire to display more of. But we're also going to see other people feeling the same way and a lot more championing of those things as necessary and important parts of life over and above short-term selfish thinking like greed, profit, bottom line sort of stuff. So we're heading into some happier days. The other thing, remember, Sagittarius is the sign of humor. So it will be the return this month of a sense of humor, which we can all seriously use more of right now. So we've got some really fun stuff happening as soon as Venus slides into Sagittarius, which should happen by, let me see over here, right there on the 2nd. So on the left side of the screen, this thing moving around, this is I pulled this because it's a nice clean image, but this is what a page out of an ephemeris looks like. So for this particular month, right, we have the month and the date across the top, and this is a midnight ephemeris. So ephemerides are either noon or midnight, and it's just where the planets are when they set up the timetables for the planet positions. And it will show you the planetary positions for the entire month, and then some other information down there. As you get more used to looking at charts and stuff, you'll probably, and you should, get away from the software and actually start using an ephemeris, because it would be easier to kind of look for trends and patterns in a big picture sort of way, right? It's just faster. But I don't know. I mean, you kids and your technologies, maybe it's easier on the computer for you. Okay. So as soon as we get to day 2 of November, the return of humor, comedy will come back. And we're so looking forward to this, because along with that will be the return of optimism and confidence and integrity and principles and ethics, and an emphasis on those things. So this month, there should be a tremendous amount of discussion about the things that matter in life: principles, character, integrity, ethics. This is going to be a driving conversation globally and personally for all of us. And the reason I say that is not just because Venus is going in Sagittarius, which is also where Jupiter is right now. Jupiter is in its sign of rulership. But also because one of the things that you learn about Scorpio, if you've ever known Scorpios, right, and Capricorns, and especially Scorpio-Capricorn combinations, and this is where we've got a heavy emphasis of planets this month, is that Scorpio is driven by the principle of the thing. So they say that Scorpio and Taurus are very stubborn, but the reality is they're stubborn in different ways. Scorpio is absolutely about the principle of the thing, and Scorpio will go to its grave and take you with them if they have to prove a point, right? Or because of a principle involved in something. Where Taurus is more about self-preservation, Scorpio is absolutely about the principle driving something. So it doesn't matter if it's a penny or $1 million. If there's a principle involved, Scorpio absolutely will sacrifice itself to prove a point and to drive that point home, especially if it means driving it home in your pointy little head. Capricorn, at its finest, is very much about ethics and standards, gold standards, right? The standards that we live by. This is why Capricorn is so invested in the rules. You know, these are the rules and you must play by the rules, because the rules are the guiding principles. There's that word again. The guiding principles by which we all operate by, right? In order to have a cohesive, organized, functional group / society / community / family / classroom, we must all play by the same set of rules based on higher principles, you know, above and beyond what's in it for me and dog eat dog sort of stuff. Now, at a lower level with Scorpio or Capricorn, you can get very extreme survivalists who are absolutely invested in nothing but their own survival. Me, mine, ours, which is still mine. It's, you know, all about my survival, right? And everything I do has to be about my survival and my improvement, because it's a very mercenary sort of mentality. And that's the lower end. At the higher end, you have very, very principled people who are absolutely driven by higher ideals because they realize how important that is to everyone's survival. And that's what you get with a high road or high end for Scorpio and Capricorn. So those two little bon mots about those two signs, those trademark or hallmarks of those two signs, coupled with this Sagittarius energy, really, this is where we're getting this thing about ethics and integrity and principle. It's going to be that kind of a month. So we're all, well, not all, but many of us are going to try and rise to a higher road and do better things, do right things, right? So, and we'll have our sense of humor back, which is awesome. Now, the other thing that's important about this Venus transit is when Venus leaves Scorpio and moves into Sagittarius, we will lose that mutual reception to Mars. So originally, we had, Venus and Mars in mutual reception, because Venus loves being in Libra and Mars loves being in Scorpio. So the two together like this in mutual, meaning that they could exchange places, was very, very helpful. So there was always a way out, or some type of ingenious solution, or even assistance and aid that could be transferred or given back and forth between two seemingly disparate parties that didn't necessarily have anything in common, and worse, were also in positions where they didn't really know what they were doing. So they were able to at least be assistive to each other in that regard. But when Venus moves into Sagittarius here, we will lose that mutual reception. So and this is why this is important to you, any window of opportunity, and today's the first I'm telling you this, any window of opportunity that you have to find a way to make something irreconcilable work, to find a compromise, to find a third solution, right? To find some way of navigating through a tricky situation where there's just not a lot of ways to maneuver around. You have today to get it together and go have that talk, have that conversation, have that negotiation, get those wheels in motion, because come tomorrow when Venus goes into Sag, that window of opportunity to find that ingenious compromise or assistance from behind the scenes, it's going to be gone. Everything's going to be out on the table. There will be no behind the scenes, can I call a friend saving phone calls. So there you go. All right. Now, as the month is going through, one of the unfortunate things, since we're talking about Venus and Mars, is that Mars will remain in the Via Combusta. So there's a section of the zodiac called the Via Combusta, or the burning way is what it translates to, between 15 Libra and 15 Scorpio. This is not a comfortable position because technically, or theoretically, anything that passes through the Via Combusta gets burned up. Like nothing good comes of these situations. Now, this has different rules. It's not an absolute rule, so you can't apply anything in the Via Combusta as the absolute rule to anything and everything in a chart. So don't use it like that. But it is a guideline. Now, in this particular situation, we have Mars in the Via Combusta. So Mars in the Via Combusta in a transit chart like this tells us a couple of things. The first thing is that it tells us that, again, this idea of vindictiveness and revenge and power plays and all sorts of not warfare sort of strategies and techniques take on a higher emphasis at this time, and in many ways are more successful and get a boost than they normally would under any other circumstances, which is extremely powerful because Mars does not like being in the sign of Libra. Libra is the sign of the diplomat. Mars is the sign of the warrior, the barbarian. So imagine having a barbarian to, a high society tea party. It can try and pretend, but ultimately it doesn't belong there because it's not who it is. So it's a real effort to function in that environment. Mars in Libra is that sort of issue. Now, however, there is a secret sign to this. So here's the secret about Mars in Libra. Mars in Libra is also the sign of the bloodless, the bloodless killer, right? So Mars in Libra, in terms of warfare, because Libra is the sign of war, okay? Mars in Libra is also the sign of somebody who's able to execute with clean hands. So they're the person who has an range of situations for things to get done while they keep their hands clean. You'll find that individuals with Mars in Libra are very, very cunning in that way. So they're the ones who when they're dysfunctional, they're the ones who will set up situations to pit people against each other while they stand back and watch, World War III break out, and they look like angels. What? I have no idea what happened. Yeah, that kind of dangerous. Mars in Libra also shows up in military strategists. So people who are really good at strategy games, especially military strategy games, are typically showing up with Mars in Libra. So imagine that quality, right? Now also further reinforced or supported. What is the word I'm looking for? I'll think in a minute. But further supported and reinforced by being in the Via Combusta, right? So you've got this strategist, this cunning strategist who's all about the bloodless kill, right? There will be no blood on my hands. They like to orchestrate other people to do it. Remember, the diplomat, right? Moving through the dark, shadowy tunnel of the Via Combusta, or the burning way. So this is the character that can walk through the fiery pits of hell and get the demons to do its work for it during this time. So that also is this month. What that means for you, my friends, what that means for you is be very, very aware of when your buttons are being pushed, because you may be a victim of someone playing out this Mars in Libra in the Via Combusta. You are not somebody else's pawn for their personal agenda. Now, this has already taken a hit, right? So Mars has moved past Saturn. So sometime toward the end of last month, Mars was an exact square to Saturn, and that means that all this nonsense and also the circumstances setting up the downfall of something would have occurred when Mars was around 15 Libra. And I do not have my ephemeris in front of me, so we'd have to go back and look in the books to find out what date that occurred on, but that is a significant day. Now, we're not out of the woods yet, because now that we're through with this, look at this. Mars is going to go down and square Pluto in Capricorn. Now, Pluto in Capricorn has been wreaking all kinds of havoc in all our lives, because it's very much about major restructuring in terms of hierarchies and the traditions and the things that we believed held our lives together. All the structures in our lives are really being challenged and have been challenged since Pluto went into Capricorn. Mars in Libra moving into a tight or exact square with that this month is going to put the finishing touches on a karma cake, as it were, just a not fun cake. So let's see when this happens. Mars will go to 20 Capricorn. Yikes. Beginning of the month as well. So this whole first week of November, we've got some major stuff going on. And it would do you all well to tread softly, think long term, and not be up to no good. And also understand when your buttons are being pushed, because there are people out here who are absolutely playing out that Mars in Libra in the Via Combusta right now, and they're not done. Once we get past that square to Pluto, their power and immunity on the island will be gone. But we've got this whole first week of November to get through. So if you've got some tricky situations that you're dealing with, personally or professionally, now's the time to go in. Especially today, if you can do it, but definitely before the week is over. Now's the time to go in to try and do damage control before it gets worse, and assume that, yes, it could get worse. So, because those dials are kind of clicking into place, and this is the last of the little finishing pieces or parts that have to go into place before everything shoves off and launches and starts moving forward. So, I know, that's just what you wanted to hear, right? Okay, now the sun will continue moving through Scorpio, and the sun in Scorpio will do a number of things. So if you are in Aries, the sun in Scorpio will be occurring in your 8th house. And as it lights up your 8th house, it will bring with it all manner of focus on not just your relationships, but also money and taxes and insurance. So some of you may find you're dealing with insurance stuff that you weren't expecting. Now, the sun will be moving into a trine with Neptune during this month, and beautiful sextiles with those Capricorn planets. So everyone is benefiting from this. So for Aries, look for some type of bonus or boon or unexpected relief coming to you through taxes, insurance, or, some type of governmental intervention. For Taurus, the sun will be moving into your 9th house. No, sorry, 7th house. Oh, my Lord. So for Taurus, the sun will move through your 7th house. This will provide you... Sorry about that. This will provide you with some really important opportunities to kind of make sense of your relationships and also to make good connections and networking and contacts. So for those of you who are looking for love or trying to repair your relationships or trying to add to your relationships, for those of you who are in poly relationships, this is going to be a particularly good month to go find who you're looking for. Gemini. So Gemini, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Sun in the 8th, got it. Sorry. Gemini, the sun in Scorpio will be moving through your 6th house. So this will give you an opportunity. 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. This will give you an opportunity to, basically clean house. I mean, I don't have a lot of interesting stuff for that. Some of you may be making travel plans, actually, which is kind of interesting. So for those of you who need to go through your paperwork and your housekeeping and or are in school or thinking about going back to school or acquiring new skills, this is a great time to hammer out the details for that, because everything is working for you. The wind is in your sails. And also you may find that there are some surprises that pop up in terms of what's available to you that you didn't know or wasn't available before. So definitely get out there and check it out. Cancer, the sun will be moving through your 5th house. As it moves through your 5th house, expect this to be a really solid month for you. So one of the things that I would look for this month is definitely an opportunity to reconnect with our families and our kids. You're going to be feeling a tremendous boost in terms of creativity. And actually creative endeavors and social groups will serve you well. So if you have an opportunity to go out and deal with people who are artistically or creatively inclined, not the usual run-of-the-mill follow along like everybody else, this is the time to go out and pursue that, because you're going to find that this is a great time to really solidify and pull in some really good opportunities for wealth building in terms of your personal income, which is an unexpected thing, I know, but it's there. So Leo, the sun will be moving through your 4th house. You've been having quite the tumultuous year with Uranus moving through your 10th house. It's not been easy. Now, with the sun moving through your 4th house and being supported by Neptune and being supported by Capricorn, this is actually going to be a significantly easier month for you. And one of the things that I would look for, let me see. Yeah, one of the things that I would actually look for is a change in your daily routine and also an opportunity to clean up work environments or job situations. So your schedules may change this month for the better, and you may find you've got some great side gigs and stuff coming in that would be very beneficial to you. And also, Leo, because this has not been a great time in terms of things that have therapeutic value that will help you get right with yourself again. This is the month where you'll find you'll make a lot of headway in terms of literally getting out of your own way. So definitely, if you have an opportunity to go do something and be of service, pursue it. There's some really good surprises in there for you. Virgo, the sun will be moving through your 3rd house. Yay. This will be very good for you. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. This will be very good for you. Or maybe not so good for you. I'm not completely sure what to do with this. So the sun moves through your 3rd house and you've got Neptune in your 7th. All this Capricorn stuff's in your 5th. So relationships have been a little weird. Now, the nice thing is that you've been particularly charismatic without any effort at all this last few months. and you may not even realize it. However, for those of you who are writers, and many Virgos are communicators and writers, or editors, people involved in communication things, or Instagram models, whatever, right? This month is particularly good for getting the information that you need that will help catapult your efforts move forward, and also will make your words more powerful than usual. So be careful what you say and use your heightened verbal charisma to your advantage for a much bigger picture. Libra, the sun will be moving through your second house, and hurrah, hurrah, your finances will take a boost. We'll definitely get a boost this month. So you will finally have some opportunity and breathing room to sort out how to make finances better. Definitely look for financial opportunities that can help stabilize finances, and also this is a time to really do some budget analysis and cut some dead weight and streamline your finances, because you have not been going through an easy time by any stretch of the imagination. So some losses this month may actually be financial liberations for you. Believe it. Scorpio, the sun will be going through your first house. You will be quite the force to be reckoned with. Not that you weren't last month either. But this month in particular is going to be different. And the reason it's going to be different is your ability to come up with a vision, a creative vision of where you need to go and how it needs to get done is going to come through crystal clear. So your radar is going to be off the hook. So at this time for the rest of the month, I would listen to good advice when it's given. And you may find also, too, interestingly enough, that you have people who are coming in your life that are able to act as mentors for you. So you're getting a lot of boost and support from the people around you to help you identify ways to make literally your dreams come true. Sagittarius, the sun will be rolling through your 12th house. This is surprisingly a quiet month for you. So one of the things that you're going to find that's very important to you this month is networking and how to make money doing it. So for those of you who are, well, younger, millennials, maybe the Gen Xers, I don't know what else they're calling you. I guess the young millennials versus the old millennials. I don't know. But for those of you who are more group oriented or focused, this is a powerful time for making your networking literally pay off and improve your financial picture. So this whole last few years have not been easy for you because there's been a lot more responsibility than reward, or at least that's what it feels like in all of your efforts. But this month in particular, it's an opportunity to make those connections go ka-ching, ka-ching. So look into that and explore it and let us know how that pans out for you. Capricorn, the sun will be moving through your 11th house, which will be doing wonderful things because, hang on. Yes, because you've got all that stuff going on in your first house. First, third. Interesting. So Capricorn, the sun will be traveling through your 11th house. As it moves through your 11th house, some of the things that we can look for this month are absolutely and opportunities for you to take the lead. Not that you didn't have opportunities before, but you are definitely, your leadership skills are definitely emphasized right now. And your ability to get people to focus on the right priorities or prioritize better will be the gift that you have to offer that will be called upon. So use your influence wisely. Otherwise, it's going to be a great month for self-cultivation and also self-improvement. Aquarius, the sun will be moving through your 10th house, and it's going to give you 10, 9, 8. It's going to be giving you Yeah. It's going to put the emphasis squarely on your public image and your professional reputation and your professional efforts. So Aquarius, just, don't be surprised if you have challengers. You're going to have challengers this month, but if you pay heed to what's important, you will find, and don't give them too much energy, you're going to find that you are able to come out of this smelling like a rose and looking even better as a result of people challenging you. So go into situations, especially conflicts, with the mindset of a winner, right? And also, as you well know, do your homework ahead of time. This is no time to slouch. So your professional efforts and your personal reputation and all those things that define who you are in the eyes of others will be emphasized this month. Don't take that for granted. Pisces, this month the sun will be going through your 9th house, which will open up many opportunities in terms of magic and visualization. So this is a very, very powerful, magical month for you. Absolutely use this to your advantage. Remember, the most important thing right now, while the sun moves through that 9th house, being supported by those Capricorn planets, is focus, focus, focus. If you can focus on it, you can attract it this month. So as difficult as it is, and it has been since Neptune has moved into your sign, the ability to discipline or rehabilitate your brain to be able to focus for more than 2 seconds at a time, attention span of a squirrel, or a goldfish in this case. If you can train or rehabilitate your mind to focus for more than 2 or 3 seconds at a time, you will find that your ability to manifest the most amazing, unexpected things will be at play all month long. It's going to be a good month. All right. So that is what we have for the general horoscopes for the month of November. So we've got the sun in Scorpio doing all sorts of wonderful things because it is supported by a trine to Neptune and all these sextiles to these Capricorn planets. We have Venus changing signs at the beginning of the week. And while this is happening, we also have this moving into square with that. And that is your notice or your fire alarm, your warning bell that anybody who's up to no good and is trying to usurp the current authority or positions or whatever, this first week of November is the week that they're most likely to put the finishing touches on that and or get away with it. So if this is you and you're the one being challenged by competitors, you want to make sure, or if you're in kind of a, tricky situation with jobs or relationships, this right now, today especially, and certainly the first week, is the week to watch in terms of trying to do damage control, right? To minimize the problems that are going to come with it. Venus will move into Jupiter's sign to join Jupiter. As we get down to the following dates, we can expect some significant things. Now, the other thing I forgot to mention to you guys, and I'm going to add it here, Neptune is stationing direct. Now, remember with the outer planets, they're further away, so they appear to move slower, which means that their stations take longer to happen and we feel it more. So Neptune stationing direct on November 27th means we're already feeling it. Now, with Neptune going direct, what this gives us is a feeling of clarity, right? And vision, and literally like having the scales fall from your eyes or turning the light on. Suddenly we can see really clearly right now. So this is a brilliant thing that we're experiencing. It's going on all month long. So look for this, especially in conjunction with this, right? So the first week of November is a big deal because all of this is going on. Now, this is going to be in conjunction with this station, even though the station doesn't occur until the official station doesn't occur until the end of the month. And it is in conjunction with that ahead of time because we feel the effects of the station all month long. By the time we get down here to the 27th, It's all over. It's literally the writing's on the wall, and it's all good. The good news is, with Neptune going direct like this, and with Jupiter in Sagittarius, and then of course Venus joining it, right? And the sun all month long being supported by these planets, it's a positive thing. So we should see some positive progress that is evolutionarily supportive, right? Things that are going to help us move forward in life, not drag us backwards. Also, the other hot spots this month I want you to look at are November 20th to, this is a big week here, November 23rd. This week is a very big deal because we have multiple things happening. So we have Mercury stationing direct that week. We have Mars changing signs and going to 0 Scorpio that week. We have Venus going into Sagittarius that week, like literally like dominoes falling right on top of each other. All of these things are happening at the same time. So if we have a planetary picture of Mars, 0 Scorpio, Venus, 0 Sagittarius, Mercury, station direct at 12 Scorpio, and Neptune stationing direct at 15 Pisces. This is a pretty complicated picture, and it's actually pretty interesting. So what we're looking at here, this is during this time, right, those 3 days, the 20th to 23rd, Mars changes signs, Venus changes signs, Mercury is changing direction, and Neptune is still in the process of changing direction, and it will occur down here officially on the 27th. Mars going into its own sign of Scorpio makes Mars even more powerful. So something occurring between the 20th and the 23rd is going to have a tremendous amount of impetus or power behind it. Venus going into Sag is going to open up a lot of opportunity and make us a lot more optimistic and confident, which we really, really need, for God's sakes. The challenge, just so you guys know, use this highlighter. The challenge with Venus going into Sagittarius like this is that once Venus goes at 0 Sag, it's moving into a quincunx with Uranus. So Venus and Sag, quincunxing Uranus, right? Venus-Uranus quincunx on its own, it tends to be problematic because Sagittarius loves to give, and it's very, sorry, let me start with the planets. Venus quincunx Uranus. Am I saying that right? Oh my Lord. Yeah, that's right. Oh, sorry. I gotta get some coffee. Venus quincunx Uranus makes it difficult because our desire for relationships and intimacy and making things nice is in conflict with our drive to be honest and to be frank and free. So it's kind of like the person who means well when you ask them, does this dress make me look fat? And they're like, well, yeah, but you've always been fat. Like, they're not saying it to be mean. They're trying to be supportive and be honest at the same time. And it tends to create awkward situations, right? Because the two don't work that well together. So we've got a lot of that. And this should absolutely, with Venus and Uranus, it should absolutely involve social situations and also social policies. In the signs of Sagittarius and Taurus, the other layer of this is that Sagittarius is a very generous sign and oftentimes a little irresponsible with its money because it believes that if it just gives it out, the universe will bring it back. So it's all good. It'll come back. And Taurus is very much about resource management in the here and now. So Taurus does not like to give away its money because it's worked hard for that. It wants to accumulate. So Sagittarius wants to give away. Taurus wants to accumulate. So right there, we've got a conflict because we've got two opposing forces competing for the driver's seat, right? I want to give stuff away. Well, I want to hang on to it. It's a little difficult to do both at the same time. So when Venus moves into Sagittarius and makes that quincunx to Uranus it's going to get a little weird for the second week of November. Luckily, it doesn't last. Luckily, it doesn't last. And of course, the next thing that will happen is Venus will square Neptune. So so we're going to go from struggling with being stingy versus generous to being overly generous and not knowing when to say no. And that will only last for a week or so as well. And we'll get through it, but it will be an interesting seesaw ride that we're on for a couple of weeks. Okay. And all of this, remember, is occurring around these 3 days. So expect those 3 days to be real wibbly wobbly days, and just plan accordingly. And that is it. That's our overview for the month of November. You're welcome to comments in the comments below. I will try to get to them as soon as I can. I am back in school, folks, so I am not going to be on here as frequently as I could be because I have schoolwork to do. Also, next month I will be debuting at a cafe doing the monthly horoscope report and discussion with a live audience. So we're trying it out. It's a bit of an experiment. We'll see how it goes. It will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube so you guys can see it and participate yourselves. Assuming that we don't have any technical problems. So that's what's going on with that. This is going to be a good month where we can finally focus on stuff that we personally need to kind of get done without feeling like having major existential anxiety hanging over our head. First week of November, it's a little dicey. Today is today to get out there and try to clean up your mess if you can. Damage control, and be aware that anybody who's been up to anything of any kind of no good, this is the last week to get it in there and get away with it. So, if nothing happens this week, count your blessings. The week of the 21st, between 20th and the 23rd-ish, we're looking at all sorts of major activity because there's a concentration of planetary changes occurring at that time. So look for things to be a little weird, especially with finances and stuff. So the week of the 20th, whenever that week starts, we can expect people to be struggling between being stingy and generous, and then the immediately following week, people not knowing when to stop. And actually, now that I think about it, that'll take us in the last week of November, and I know around here in the United States that's around Christmas time, and around Thanksgiving, and that typically kicks off the Christmas shopping season. So that may be, so for those of you who have, make a list, make a list and stick to it, because overspending may actually be a real problem for a lot of us during that week. And that's it. So I hope you guys are okay, and we'll talk soon. All right. Bye.